YouTube connected. Listwithelizabeth.com. Status connected. Facebook Live connected. Rumble connected. Twitter X connected. LinkedIn connected. This is the booth. We are cleared to go live. Send the signal to the studio and go live.
List with Elizabeth show, ready to go live in 3, 2.
When you think selling and buying a home,
when I think real estate, I think List with Elizabeth.
Elizabeth Kline.
Elizabeth Ann Kline. And here is the host of the List with Elizabeth show, Elizabeth Kline.
Hello, everybody. I love this music. I don't know about you, but it makes me want to dance every time I hear it. But I'm a dancer, so there you go. Welcome to the List with Elizabeth show. I am Elizabeth Ann Kline, your host. I am a residential real estate specialist helping buyers buy homes and sellers sell homes in the Northern Virginia area and beyond. Thank you for tuning in today. I'm really excited for today. I think it's going to be a nice behind the scenes look for buyers and sellers as to what actually happens when you're trying to submit an offer or accept an offer. So we're going to do some behind the scenes stuff today. Before I get started, I'd like to thank everyone who has already subscribed, who has commented, who has called, who has given a shout out. Thank you for all your support. There's my little girl flying around, just reminding me to tell you to also go ahead and subscribe if you haven't done so already. And like the show, tell your friends. Let me know what you want covered. What do you want me to talk about? What are some questions that you may have if you're looking to buy or sell a home today? And I would be happy to cover that on one of our next episodes. So today we are going to talk about offers, real estate offers and expectations. And I'm going to do my best to actually present this from both the seller and the buyer point of view, because you don't have a sale without both. So we need both in the transaction. I do work with both. So that keeps me fresh on both sides of the field, which I think is truly important in this environment. So, you hear this term that says, oh, okay, I really like this house and I want to make an offer. What does that mean? What are you actually doing? So let's pretend you are a buyer and you went to see a home with your agent and you loved it. This was it. It felt good. It looked good. You liked the size. You liked the community. You like the price point, and you're ready to see if you can ascertain the house, see if you can get the house. So what your agent is going to do, and what I do, let's talk about me. What I will do is I'll say, okay, we're going to sit down now and go through a myriad of questions so that I can put together all the terms, all the information for the seller to review. And basically all of that gets put on a sales contract. The sales contract in our area is about 12 pages long. And then there's going to be some additional documents that get attached called addendums. Some of those will be like a home inspection addendum, a financing contingency addendum, a blank addendum where you can write in different terms. So essentially what you're doing is you're compiling a big chunk of paperwork, big stack of paperwork, what we call an offer. It's an offer to buy the house with all of our terms and conditions in there and everything that we're willing to do on the buyer side. That is typically prepared by your realtor And once all of the documents are put together, it is usually then emailed over to the buyers so that they can e-sign. So, guys, our world moves really quick today. Technology is a big part of our world. We are really not in the business of driving out to meet the buyers, sitting down and going through all of this page by page in person. It is sometimes still done in certain circumstances, but 99% of the time, you're going to be e-signing these documents. Now, on the buyer side, I will tell you, it is very difficult sometimes when you're sent a packet to e-sign through email. It's hard to read everything because sometimes the program you're using just pushes the documents up and just shows you the part where you're supposed to sign. And as soon as you click to sign it, it pushes it up again. So sometimes what I will do is send the documents over to you in a PDF so you can view them first, make sure there's no corrections or questions that you have before you're ready to sign. But essentially, that's how it's done. You're going to answer some questions. I'm going to prepare your documents. They're going to come over to you. You're going to e-sign. Once that's done, it comes back to me. Now I have to finalize your offer. And again, it's all done through email. So I'm going to write an email to the listing agent. Usually what I will do is type out a summary of what our offer entails. I will obviously attach the PDF, the signed PDF offer that you signed as the buyer. I'm also going to include your pre-approval letter from your lender. I'm going to copy the lender on the email so that they are fully involved and engaged and know what's going on. I'm going to put some information in there about who I am as an agent, who the lender is, how they can get in touch with us. That's essentially a nice skeleton of what goes out every single time. Now, of course, there will be some exceptions depending on the offers and what we're trying to convey as buyers. But for the most part, that's what an offer is. So on the listing side, this email goes out to the listing agent. So let's pretend I'm now the listing agent and I'm receiving this offer or this email. Email comes in. Typically, a good buyer's agent is also going to call and text the listing agent to say, hey, I just sent an offer. Please confirm receipt, because sometimes these offers do go into spam. So, and it's happened to me, sending an offer over. I remember one time there was a super hot house and I called the listing agent and they said, oh yeah, I'm sure I got your offer. I have about 10 in hand. And I said, oh, well, and I kept talking about the offer. And then he goes, you know what? I don't remember any offers that had that. And sure enough, it was in his spam box. So your offer is definitely not going to get accepted if it doesn't get presented. So I will always make sure on the buy side that listing agent responds, yes, I got it. Yes, received. Sometimes it's a very quick answer and that's all we get. And other listing agents sometimes are very, very talkative and will tell you everything. I have 3 offers in hand and I'll be meeting with my sellers at 7 p.m. And other times it's just got it, So it just depends. As your realtor, I need to coach you minute by minute, hour by hour, day by day through this process, because it's all going to be custom created to you and you're going to have your own journey through buying your home or selling your home. So let's say now I'm representing a seller and we receive an offer in. One of the things I just want to tell sellers, because I get this question a lot, is when do we have to respond? Or or buyers will say, well, when are we going to hear back? There is no set definition or law or rule or anything we have to follow with that. It's really at our discretion on the listing side as to when you'd like to respond back. But I do have some thoughts on this. Typically in our market here in Northern Virginia, response time is usually within 24 hours, if not the same day. So it doesn't have to be, but remember, when buyers put forth an offer, they're excited. They are anxious. They want to know, hey, is this going to be enough? Did I get this house? And until they hear back, until they are under contract, they can continue to shop. And the more time that goes by between when they submitted the offer and when sellers respond, I would say there is a certain level of like deflated excitement that happens because every day that goes by, they're starting to think, oh, there's more and more competition. I'm not getting it. All right, let's keep looking. And then they kind of start talking themselves out of the house. Well, I didn't like the backyard anyway. Maybe the master bedroom wasn't big enough for me anyway. So you really, as a seller, you really need to walk a fine line between keeping buyers engaged, trying to see what the market's going to bring you, and knowing when there's a good offer in front of you. And that's something, again, I will help coach you on because there is no black and white with this. Everything is going to be dependent on your situation. Let's see here. And sometimes, it's just appropriate to tell the buyers, thank you so much for this offer. This offer looks great. We're really excited for it. However, we really wanted to let the house go through a full weekend on the market. So we're going to be able to get back to you on Monday. We're setting an offer deadline for Monday. And sometimes we will, on the selling side, we will lose a couple buyers between like a Thursday and a Monday. But typically, if you know the supply and demand of your marketplace, you can hedge against that pretty well. And what I mean by that is right now in the Northern Virginia area, there are definitely more buyers than there are sellers. So it's rare that a buyer who finds a house that they really, really like on a Thursday is going to go out and find something else by Monday. It could happen. It could. I'm not saying it wouldn't, but if an offer comes in on a Thursday and that was the first day we went on the market and the sellers are looking at this offer, I'm going to go ahead and show them, hey, we have 12 other showings booked for tomorrow and 2 open houses this weekend. We're probably going to get a lot more eyeballs on the house. Or I might say, gosh, we have no other showings at all. And the weather is going to be horrible this weekend. There's no open house, whatever, et cetera, et cetera. Again, I have to fill in the blanks for you to help guide you with what offers you might want to wait to accept, you might want to jump on. It's all going to depend. But response time can be very important. So, what are your options as a seller when you receive an offer? There are 3 options. You can accept the offer exactly how it was written with no changes. You can counter the offer, which means you're going to change at least one term, if not more, or you're going to just flat out deny the offer. Nope. Oh, this is a lowball offer. Absolutely not. Elizabeth, tell them no. We're not even countering. That's it. Those are your 3 choices. You're going to accept, counter, or decline the offer. If you, as a seller, counter, and what I mean by that, again, is changing any one of the terms on the offer. It could be something as simple as the closing date. When the offer comes over, it's going to have a proposed closing date on there. And you might just say, oh, I'm out of town that day, or that's my daughter's birthday, or that date just doesn't work for me for whatever reason. If we cross that out on the seller side and put a new closing date, we have literally we've voided that initial offer. Sellers are going to initial the change. We're now going to email it back over to the buyer's agent for presentation to the buyers. And now on the seller side, we wait to see if it's accepted, declined, or countered. Nothing happens until both parties agree to all the terms on the contract and it's signed and initialed by both parties and it's delivered to both agents. At that moment in time, that's when the house flips to under contract. And there's many, many terms of consideration in an offer that can be countered or discussed. And usually I think people only really consider or think of the sales price as, well, what do we have for the house? Oh, did we get list price? Okay, great. There's so many other terms that need to be looked at. I'll go through some of them with you all here. So obviously price is a big one. There's also something called seller subsidy, which can be a field where the buyers are requesting that the sellers contribute cash towards closing costs or towards repairs that are needed. There's different categories of subsidies out there. So even though you may see the offer come over and you may see a sales price that looks good, you have to dig a little deeper and say, well, what else is in here? Does anything take away from that sales price? Oh, yep, here's a subsidy line, right? How much are these subsidies versus offer number 2 or offer number 3? What are their subsidies looking like, if any? So that's another line item that could be countered. Down payment is another amount here. So let's say you have 2 offers on the table as a seller, and one offer has a 3% down payment and one has a 20% down payment. It doesn't matter to the seller as far as their proceeds, how much the down payment is, but it does give an indication as to which buyer may be more financially stable, which buyer's financing may be able to go through easier, which buyer is more in a better position to deal with a low appraisal down the road if that were to happen. So down payment amount does come into play in certain circumstances. Now, if there is no other offer, then, 3% down payment is going to look pretty good because there's nothing else you're comparing it to. But when there are comparisons to be made, they will be made. So just some things to keep in mind. Earnest money deposit. This is an amount that buyers are put on the offer, and it's a portion of the cash that is due at closing that gets sent in upfront after ratification, after you're under contract. So again, sometimes in our market in Northern Virginia, we may typically see, let's say, a $20,000 down earnest money deposit on larger houses, sometimes 30, sometimes 50. I've had people do $200,000 earnest money deposits. It's just an amount of money that gets sent into the title company ahead of closing, just to show your good faith and earnest effort that you're going to make it to the closing table as a buyer. So sometimes when we get an offer from buyers from other markets, we see a really low earnest money deposit. And me as a listing agent, I don't like to see that from my sellers. So sometimes we will counter that. Let's say an EMD earnest money deposit comes in at $5,000, and we may cross that off and say, we want this to be $15,000 or $20,000 and send it back. Again, that's a counter offer. Anything you change and send back is a counter offer. We talked about settlement date. Termite inspection is something else that could potentially be countered. Usually not, but that's another term on the offer. And home warranty, lead-based paint testing, settlement company. These are all items that could be potentially modified and sent back. Now, when a counteroffer is sent by the sellers, okay, it goes back when we talked about this. The initial offer is void. The new offer is on the table. The buyers are now in control. The buyers can accept, reject, or counter. This process of going back and forth takes potentially hours. So what I want to say is when we get to this point in the process, please do not go to bed. And what I mean is literally go to bed, go to sleep. Because when we start this ping pong back and forth of offer, counter offer, counter offer, counter offer, it could, sometimes I'm working on a contract for till midnight, sometimes even later. And we started at 4 p.m. But it has to go. Remember, it has to go from one party, emailing it out to the clients, If there's 2 people buying or 3, sometimes 4, has to go to all 4 emails. All 4 have to initial, then it has to come back to the agent. The agent then has to send it to the buyer's agent. Buyer's agent then has to receive it. Then they have to send it to their clients. Same thing. Oh, it's dinner time. Oh, we're putting the baby to bed. Okay, give me an hour. My husband will be home in 2 hours. Let me talk to him. Oh, I have to call my sister. I'll be back. So all of these things add time. So I think one of the best practices is stick with it through that day, because if one of the parties shuts down on either side and an entire night passes, lots of things could happen in that time frame. For example, another offer could come in. The sellers are under no obligation to follow through with a counteroffer on the buyers. If something else comes in, just like that, we can receive an email on the buyer side that says, counteroffer withdrawn. Thank you very much. They got another offer in. So when we get to this point of really like kind of fine tuning the paperwork, going back and forth, please stay dialed in. Please find a workaround for just that one night where, maybe you skip the bath for the kid, just one night. This is really important. We don't mess this up, because when you get this close, you don't want to lose it. And I've seen it. I've really truly seen house heartbreak. I should coin that phrase, house heartbreak, because it's a true thing. I remember there was one family. I was on the buyer side. We submitted the offer and the seller said they would get back to us in the morning. I had reached out to the agent in the morning and she said, oh yeah, they decided to go with it. They just wanted to sleep on it. They're going to go with it. I'm going to have this back to you before noon. So that was great news. Well, guess what happened? Before noon, the seller received another offer and we didn't get the house. So time is of the essence when you submit an offer, when you receive an offer. Sometimes sellers receive a fantastic offer fast. And I'm talking within hours of going on the market, at least here in Northern Virginia. So this can sometimes shell shock sellers into like, I didn't expect it to come in this fast. Wow, this is really high. And then they start thinking, well, this came in this fast at this amount. What else is out there, right? Oh, let's wait. Sometimes a good offer is a good offer. And again, that's where your agent's going to come in and help guide you and say, look, okay, well, let's take a step back. This offer is a really great offer, but you have 100 showings over the next 2 days. That's a different situation than this offer is a great offer and no one's calling, no one else is scheduling, nothing else is happening. Now we're going to take a different approach to responding to that offer. But I just encourage you that no matter what happens, keep in good communication with your realtor. Make sure you have someone that's giving you good advice, coaching you through this, looking at the market, knowing the market, prepping you for what's to happen. So whether you're buying or selling, you really have to, this is the time when you have to be fully engaged, right? It's also a time when both parties, buyers and sellers, are very, very emotional, high stress, high anxiety, high emotions. Sellers don't want to leave any money on the table. They don't want to make a bad decision. Buyers want to get the house. So we really need to just stay calm, cool, and collected. And that's what we as your agents are here to do. We're not the ones buying or selling, so we can keep a level head. We can keep a nice, calm, cool, and collected manner on both sides and say, okay, let's just take a step back. Here's where we are. Here's what could happen. Here's what we expect to happen. And here's what we need to do next. So I think those are all the main points I wanted to hit today. Let me just see. Yeah. So I think for today, I'm going to end there. There's so much I could talk about with this. And, I do this every day. I've done this every day for over a decade. And when you're going through this for the first time or for the second time, and it's been a couple years, make sure you have I say this on every show because truly it's the most important thing. Just make sure you're aligning yourself with a true professional who understands the market, who's going to guide you in the best way possible. If you're not in the Northern Virginia area and you need a good agent, please reach out to me. I'm happy to connect you with someone if you need help buying or selling across the country. If you're in the Northern Virginia area, give me a call, 703-829-LIST. Happy to chat with you. Happy to hear your questions. Again, let me know what you'd like to see on future shows. And until next time, thank you for joining us. Go ahead and subscribe if you haven't done so already, and I will see you on the next round. Bye-bye.
When you're ready to sell your home,